We're back here at Streaming Creativity. This is the first episode of Cannes 2025. I don't know if we're going to need to do another episode because I don't think we're going to get a bigger, more impactful human, certainly in the world of track and field. It's a true legend, the only athlete to win both the 200 meter and the 400 meter at the same Olympic Games. Of course, I'm going to start with the shoes, but because for me, Michael Johnson, I'm 56. I watched the Olympics, August 1st, Atlanta, the shoes. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. And please give us the story behind the shoes.
Well, thanks for having me. It's good
Yeah,
to be here. The shoes, yeah. So, this was a project that I had worked on with Nike for about a year and a half. And the objective with this project was to create shoes for me, track spikes, that would perform the way that I wanted them to. They knew that I was frustrated with what they were producing, and the true spirit of Nike, the innovation department came to me and said, look, obviously, what we're producing isn't, working for you.
Yeah.
First, tell us why.
Yeah.
And two, let's see if we can do something about it. So we had a very good discussion, and they said, look, why don't we just start from scratch and just make you what you want, And so, which was, coming from a big
Corporation.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was a little surprised. And so then we embarked on this project. My shoe designer, Toby Hatfield, who's a great friend now and has been for years, great innovative mind.
Yeah.
We set to work on this, and what I wanted was a shoe that was as light as possible. So we set out to make the lightest track spike ever, lightest cleated shoe ever. But I wanted it to be very, very rigid, and for the way that my foot interacts with the track going around the curve for the 200-meter sprint. So what I was asking for was damn near impossible.
Yeah. Right.
And they were all about it. They immediately were like, this is great, and I was expecting them to go, you can't do that. That's impossible. And they were like, this is great. Yeah. So I knew then that this was going to be a lot of fun. So we spent a year and a half working on that, working with a lot of innovative materials, a lot of prototypes. We finally got it to a point where we were all happy with sort of the direction it was going. Because of the type of materials we were using, it was always going to look very different than any other track spike
Yeah.
ever been manufactured. And so he brings the team. They brought the final prototype to one of my training sessions. This is probably 6 months before the Olympics, and it looked incredible. And the finished product, I thought, and I was holding it, I was like, this is amazing. It looked like a mirror. It wasn't gold. You couldn't see the gold. It wasn't gold. It just looked like a mirror, had a mirror sort of finish. You could see your reflection in it.
And what was the material? Like poly? Like
it was this material that 3M, we work with 3M. They sort of got, wind of the project and said, hey, we got this amazing material that we think you guys would be interested in. So, but you could see your reflection in it. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And so my coach was standing there and he goes, I don't like it. I was like, Coach, why don't you like it? He goes, well, it does look really cool as you're holding it here. And he's like,
yeah.
But when somebody's watching it and seeing this on TV or sitting in the stand, like, it's just going to look like a silver shoe. And as soon as he said silver shoe, I immediately, without thinking, just turned to Toby and said, can we make this in gold? And that's how it became gold.
Oh my God, it's so good.
So we spent a year and a half working on this, building all of this technology and everything in this product. Nobody remembers that. They just remember the one thing that I made the decision literally in seconds.
Can we make this gold? I get it. Like, it's all brand. The title of the podcast is called Screaming Creativity. Like, I love ideas that when they're dropped in culture, the world takes and spreads it and shares it. The press writes about it. Like, so there's so much creativity in that story. The technology part, there's creativity in that. But the choice, I mean, it's obvious, right? I mean, when you think of it now, of course it's gold,
Well, when you think of it now, because I did end up winning gold, but at that time I had not actually won gold yet. So had I not won gold, that could have been a very
Yeah.
poor choice.
Yeah.
That could have gone very, very, very wrong. But my mindset, of course, was all about gold and winning gold.
I mean, it's similar. I mean, it's such a similar to being here in Cannes. Like the award show. People forget there's AI talk and Spotify and great brands like that, but also the agencies. But like the real competition is in the palette, and it's as real as possible. Like winning gold, even though there's bronze and silver, like the things, only 3% of all the entries, hundreds of thousands of entries get awarded. So to win a prize at all, but to win the gold, and of course there's a Grand Prix, which is even more than gold. But I remember Nike, like it's yesterday, had a campaign around track and field, and there was outdoor and there was spots. And William Defoe did the voiceover, and it was about a track. There's the two sides of every sprinter. There's the one side that, you know, wants to leave his competition lifeless, lying on the track, and then there's the other side, the darker side, right? It was amazing,
Yeah,
they captured it,
yeah,
and then there was an incredible headline that was, "You don't win you don't win silver, you lose gold," I mean, obviously
yeah,
inspired by the so, I love that story because it goes to, if you believe it, it happens potentially, right? When, like, you put the faith in yourself, like, "I know this is a bold move, but I'm gonna do it, and when I win, people are gonna be like, 'He lived up to the hype.'"
yeah.
And, it's such a cool, and I love that there's a story that a year and a half, 'cause, you've seen the movie now, Air, with the Michael Jordan story, which is incredible story, but, like, they didn't really get into the technology part of it, they sort of brushed over it. I do think it's a great story. I think we talk about, like, the behind the scenes of a film or a product, but, like, I'd love to the making behind the scenes of, like, what was the year and a half? Like,
Mm.
what was that choice you had to make besides, like you said, like, and everybody remembers the shoes, but they remember the shoes because it's the man in the shoes winning the gold medals? So I wanna talk a little bit about, like, you as a person. Like, I think everybody knows you as an athlete. They might not know, and maybe start with, a second question is just how are you doing in general? How's your life going?
Life is good, you know. Since I retired from being an athlete, I've been an entrepreneur, been an investor, been a television commentator
Yeah, of
for
course.
25 years now. I've been doing these things. When you spend almost every single day as an athlete focused on one thing and in pursuit of one pretty singular goal, which is to be faster,
Yeah.
right? And there's a process to that, but that is what's driving you every day. Um, yeah, you tend to then sort of want to do various different things
Mm,
and not be focused on just one goal.
yeah.
So I spent the last 20 plus years doing, lots of different things. And now, I think I enjoyed the years of that, but now I'm at a point where it's like kind of full circle now. It's like, just do one thing,
Yeah, move on
So
things, yeah.
yeah, life is good. I can't
Yeah.
complain, I know what inspires me, what motivates me. Just launched last year Grand Slam track. I haven't been an entrepreneur and
Yeah.
developing companies in other spaces. They weren't, in a space that I'm so passionate about. This is
Yeah.
my sport,
Yeah.
so to be able to and be in position to be able to choose what I want to do is a very privileged position. And I chose that, okay, yeah, I want to
Yeah.
build on my own sport, which, has definitely needed it.
You just said one goal to be faster, to get faster, and I wanna know, was or is creativity part of that process to get faster? Or is it all science? Is it all training? Is there any
It's both, but I mean, yeah, look, it's all, there's a lot of science and training to it, but in order to push boundaries,
Yeah.
to do things that have never been done
Yeah.
before. So you could win the gold medal probably just using the science and just following a process if you have the talent. Um, but if you're gonna break world records, So now you're going to make history, do something that no one has ever done before. That's absolutely going to take some creativity. Um, Now, even just winning a gold medal, you got to figure out how to get the best from yourself. You can't just follow, what the last gold medalist did.
Yeah.
You have to figure out what works for you, and that does require a degree of creativity. But absolutely, when you're trying to break world records, and that was my pursuit for um, like the second half of my career. The first part of my career, I knew that I could break records, but the first half is just you need to go and win major championships, win Olympic gold medals, win world championships. So I was part of that. So that Willem Dafoe,
I know.
hey, I want
That's
to
why I was so
beat
excited.
everyone by as much as I can.
Yeah.
And it sounds diabolical, and it probably is, but I really enjoyed just racing and beating people, right? By the second half of my career, I knew that, okay, as long as I'm doing everything that I should be doing from a training standpoint, I'm probably going to win the races. And then it became, okay, now I'm trying to make history and break the 200-meter world record, break the 400-meter world record, become the first person to win Olympic gold medals in both of those events, become the first person to repeat as a 400-meter Olympic champion, all of these things that had never been done before. And that then requires absolutely being creative about, how you actually approach the training programs themselves, because at that point where you, as an athlete, and certainly in partnership with my coach, you've got to be creating different types of training programs that no one has ever created before, and based on the individual characteristics of you as an athlete.
Even to motivate yourself, I mean, when you've done it so long at such a high level, how do you keep going? What's the challenge? And like, were you born with this desire to want to race? Like, I mean, I'm sure you've been asked many times by childhood heroes. Like, when was the moment where like, listen, I might be pretty good at this. I know I'm fast. I'm good at sports, but there's a certain age where you realize, where someone sees you, say, no, this is from another planet. This level of
Yeah, so my journey was probably a little bit different than most athletes.
I
Where
hear.
when I was young, I was just literally out there just having fun playing sports. Wasn't thinking about, oh, I want to be, a professional or Olympian,
What were your sports? What was the thing?
played every sport. That was the other thing. I played every sport. I mean, I played when I was young, like really young, before like grade school. We played everything. I played soccer. I played baseball. I played basketball. I played football. I
I
track.
don't like that anymore. Everybody's like,
No, it's not. It's
too
really
bad.
hard for athletes to do that now, and for parents to let their kids play multiple sports. It's really difficult now. But yeah, I played every sport, just having fun, just enjoying it. My parents weren't pushing me into anything. And I wasn't showing, I mean, I was fast, but, I think people, sort of, you have to remember a lot of us, I think a lot of people don't understand this. A lot of us don't come from um, backgrounds where you believe that, where you have belief.
Yeah.
So my background growing up as, the youngest of 5 kids in a family with my mother and father where we were just trying to survive, and they were just trying to get us to a point of being able to get an education and have a good job and survive, just very simple.
Olympics wasn't even a
Yeah,
remote.
I mean, and so growing up in the '70s, this is, you're not nobody from my neighborhood ever went on to go be a professional athlete. What is that? That's not even a thing. So the idea of, I was a dreamer,
Hmm.
but that was unique and rare, in my household,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. Um, so I mean, I probably was able to teach my parents. I probably taught my parents that you can actually dream and it can come true.
At what age? At what age of that
I
do you
mean,
feel like you could teach?
when I actually was able to do it,
Yeah.
because yeah, I mean, my parents, I mean, they were like, look, if if I had started, as a 15-year-old, as an example, saying, oh, I'm going to go to the Olympics, my parents would have been like,
Yeah, I want to go to the moon.
look, you need to be trying to go to, get to school tomorrow.
Yeah.
you know, that in
Start
itself
there.
is a challenge and
Yeah.
stay alive. Um, So, my journey was a little different. I was just having fun, enjoying sports, and then I saw it when I was in high school. I saw an opportunity to get to a really good university and get a scholarship to be able to go to a better university than my four siblings before me had the
Yeah.
opportunity to. They all went to school, went to college, but certainly not their choice of college. They
Sure.
had to pay
Yeah.
their way
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah.
My parents couldn't afford to put
Yeah.
anybody through college. So I was able to go to, have my choice, of some of the best universities in the country, right? Because of my athletic ability. And so that's what I started to see when I was sort of 17. So I was still not thinking about at that point, like, oh, I'm going to go to the
Yeah.
Olympics. I'm going to be a professional athlete. It's like, no, I'm going to get the chance to go to whatever college I want to and go study, and, and, and have that opportunity to then have that catapult me into, a better life.
Yeah.
So I ended up at Baylor, and that was the first time I actually ended up in an actual training program, a real training program with
Yeah.
a real coach who could actually
Make you better, figure out. Yeah.
help me realize my potential. And that's when I realized my potential. When I first got to Baylor, my first year as a freshman there on the track team, I realized that, wow, I have the ability to do some great things in this sport. And there actually is the opportunity to go do something. There's a professional season, there's a professional existence where you can make money, and there's the Olympics. I didn't even know all of those
Yeah.
things, until I was like a senior in high school, but I didn't realize it was possible for me until I got
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. So obviously, Baylor, Olympics, championships, all those things. When did you realize that I could be a brand? That you realize that now it's like, of course, there's a sport beach here, and like it's obviously athletes are brands, and
Mhm.
but like when did you realize? And maybe part of the gold shoe moment was like this is a viral moment that can happen. Like
Yep.
when did you realize you could be a brand or you are a brand, and how hard were you working at it? While
Yeah.
doing the training, doing the other
Yeah.
part of it.
It's
It
good.
was ahead of its time.
So I realized early on in my career that that I was a brand. And it's you realize that quicker as an individual sport athlete than
Mm.
you probably do as a team sport athlete. So some of my closest friends played in the NFL during the time that I was competing as an individual athlete in track, and I can remember thinking, yeah, my situation is very different from theirs. They actually represent a brand, and by virtue of the fact that they represent that brand, that
Yeah.
brings opportunities to them. I don't necessarily represent a brand. I am the brand,
Yeah.
and I have to actually create energy around this brand. And the one thing, if there's anything that I'm sort of jealous of this generation of athletes, is that they do have social media.
Yeah.
We didn't have.
Sometimes too much, but
I mean, and that's typically the focus is on, whether it's too much or whether it's, the negative sides of it.
yeah.
But I tend to see that, having been in a situation where I was having to rely on traditional media to help me build my brand and build awareness around me, I see immediately the benefit of athletes being able to use social media to build their brands, also tell their own story.
Yeah.
I mean,
In authentic ways.
there's
Yeah.
always been with athletes as well, with journalists, and there's a lot of interest in sports, a lot of interest in athletes from sports journalists. And are they going to get your story right? Are they going to tell the story the way is it real, or are they just, you
Clickbaiting.
you
Yeah.
can
A lot
you
of it.
can correct it, you can
Yeah.
control it. So, but of course I didn't have that. So, yeah, so you had to figure out, yeah, how do I navigate, the traditional media landscape to be able to build my brand through that? And yeah,
You
so
clearly
it's like the gold shoes was obviously,
clearly recognize like that was, I mean, my entire creative process for 20 years is when the idea lands in culture. What's the story the press writes about? Now it's what's that thing people love, champion and spread. You
mm,
like people are the media in a lot of
mm,
ways,
mhm,
but you clearly got it when most athletes, and certainly track and field is it's interesting. Like in other parts of the world, track and field is a giant sport in the US. And that's why I think, you know, uh, Grand Slam track is such an interesting, opportunity
mm.
because it's such an exciting sport. It's probably the most watched at the Olympics. Why did you think this is the moment? Was there data? Did someone come to you and say, we think we can do it the right?
Mm.
right package?
I thought, I started to look a couple of years ago at, the athletes in this sport. I've always known that this sport has a problem and that also could potentially be an opportunity. And that is
Yeah.
that, to your point, yes, it's the most watched sport in the Olympics. Every 4 years, it's most important sport on the planet, right? And most watched. And then after that, it falls short significantly
Yeah.
of with from an interest standpoint. Um, I've been able to watch the sport over the last several years and understood that the problem is that while there are other sports coming along and those sports are, continually trying to figure out how to, you know, pivot, how to continue to iterate,
Baseball, how to put the shock,
yeah, to
the pitch
continue to
clock.
make it exciting for the existing fans, but also as a new generation of fans come in with different viewing habits and behaviors, and how do you continue to make sure that your
It's just like
product
every
is
brand
relevant?
trying to get younger people to care.
Exactly. Track wasn't doing that, just staying the same and
Yeah.
not evolving as
Not
a sport,
innovating.
and it just continued to then marginalize the sport outside of the Olympics. But in the last and before I wasn't in the in position to actually go and do something like
Yeah.
this. I was building other businesses, and that were building a business is always hard.
Yeah. What were the other
Always
businesses?
got to be really hard, and so what I was doing was things that yeah, hard, but not as hard as this,
Yeah.
right? So I built a sports performance company, Michael Johnson Performance. We built it to be one of a global leader in the sports performance space, providing consulting services, training athletes, but also providing consulting services for Premier League football clubs like Arsenal, Man U, Brazilian.
West Ham is my team, so
Okay.
I'm a real fan when I'm admitting that. So
Um,
say it.
but NFL teams as well, and providing injury prevention and injury rehabilitation programs, and then running a sports science lab as well within our company for and doing product development.
Yeah.
Um, um, Support for companies like Nike and Technogym and others. So I was busy doing that and also investing, doing some tech investing and real estate investing as well. Um, and then I decided after I sold my last company back in 2023 that, now is the time that now I have the time.
Yeah.
I'm in a position to actually just go and do whatever I want to do. Um, but also I saw that in the sport that this generation of track athletes are doing an amazing job of those things that we just talked about, utilizing social media, building their brands, connecting with fans in ways that I hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
Just probably the greatest collection of personalities I've seen in the sport in quite some time. So I thought from that standpoint that now is the time, right? So I started this journey back in 2023, and we in 2024 was a great year for track with the Paris Olympics.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so I started Grand Slam track, and we had our inaugural season this year, and but like also, and this is one of the things that this we just finished our season this year, and I feel like one of the things that was validated is that this sport is perfect for today's audience because it is, you know, 2/3 of our races take place in less than 1 minute,
Yeah.
right? And we just do track. We don't do the field events, the throwing and jumping and all of those things. We just focus on the
Yeah. Maybe tell the audience who's not familiar with it what it is exactly.
yeah. So Grand Slam track is the first professional track league for the best athletes in the world. So the fastest athletes. Typically, outside of, or even during the Olympics, but outside of the Olympics, there is series or a different series of events that the athletes participate in, but most people don't even know they exist because it is still the old structure of the sport, which is, you have four different types of jumps. You have four different types of throws: shot put, discus, hammer, javelin. You have pole vault. You have, and again, high jump, long jump, triple jump. All of those are very different. They're not related to one another.
Yeah.
They don't take the same skill set. And that's just the field events. And then you get into the racing. So you have sprinters and you have middle distance runners, you have long distance runners, you have hurdlers. The one thing that's consistent about the track athletes is that they're all racing.
Mhm.
It's very simple.
Yep.
First person across the finish line wins. So what we did is we created Grand Slam track to focus on rivalries of the fastest athletes in the world doing a very simple thing that everybody understands: racing, right? So Grand Slam track is home to the fastest athletes in the world, whether they be sprinters, hurdlers, or distance athletes.
Yeah.
And we had 3 events this year. We have a very unique concept, somewhat unique. It's just the track that it's the same distances: 100 meters, 1,500 meters, 800 meters, all of those.
Some things can't change.
But our concept is unique in that over the period of a weekend, the athletes are in groups, and their combined score across the 2 races that they run determines who wins our slam, with unprecedented prize money at $100,000 for first place. So we signed athletes to the league.
Yeah.
So they're contractually obligated and committed to competing in our events. One of the problems the sport has had before is that the best athletes rarely match up against one another because they're not under contract to do so.
Yeah.
So we had our events this year in Kingston, Jamaica was our first one. Then we were in Miami, and then we finished up in Philadelphia. And so what we were able to prove this year was that there is this latent demand for the sport, that fans do want to see this sport outside of the Olympics, as long as you provide at its core compelling competition and rivalries where, the thing about sport that makes sport so great is it's unpredictable. You don't know who's going to win. You don't know
Any given Sunday.
Right. So you don't know who's going to win. That's the beauty of this sport when you put the best against the best, which rarely happens prior to Grand Slam track. In most of the races, you already knew who was going to win because there's one really good person and then 7 sort of, supporting characters. Because the meets didn't have enough budget to put together the best.
Yeah.
We did. So we have the best athletes and just compete. It provides compelling drama. And then it's the main thing then outside of the competition and rivalries at the core is the storytelling around it. So, and we have multiple stories. So what makes this sport so perfect for today's audience is if you take a highlight from a West Ham match, right? And it may be an amazing highlight, but it's only one very small piece of the entire 90 minutes.
2-hour experience at that
Right.
time. And
so for us, the highlight is the story as well.
Yeah.
It's a highlight and a story. We can take a 100-meter dash or a 400-meter race or a 1,500-meter race, and we can actually set it up. Hero, villain, the rivalry, the story of the rivalry between the athletes and who they all are and why they have a chance to win and why this is going to be so great. We can then run the race, and then we can celebrate the win on the other end, and all in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So that content ends up being highly, highly engaging because it is so short, but it's also not just a highlight of a story.
It's the
highlight and the story all in one in very short form. And we have multiple of them because we have so many different races, and then we have a variety of different personalities because our athletes represent over 20 different countries.
Yeah.
And they're all very different types of people.
When you think of like all the hype around the World Cup, it is the nationalism of each country that makes it interesting. Is this from the brain of you, or where did this come from? Whose idea was it? Did you have partners? I mean, obviously you have people
It was my idea. It was my idea, but obviously we've got a great team. We're able to take, my concept of an idea and build on it. And we have a really, really good team. So it's not just me by any stretch. And I'm probably not the most creative person, but I know my sport and I know, what I think could be. I've spent enough time as an athlete in the sport, as a commentator, commentating on the sport, watching it and trying and figuring out, what I think could be compelling. It's a whole nother thing though, to then go out
Execute.
and to even create something out of that idea. And that's where the team that I have that I'm fortunate to be able to get surrounded by is able to create.
So I was at Amazon. We were talking yesterday, and I got to share the stage of Blake Griffin and Dirk Nowitzki. I mean, I look like a tiny person, tiny person. But what was interesting is NBA is going to be on Prime now, and they're going to do the show. And we talked. They started bringing up AI and like how it will help fans really experience the sport in a different way. This seems so ripe for different fan kind of immersive, storytelling, but also just camera angles and and how AI will be part of that. So how much is technology going to be? It's season one, but as you see season two, season three, how do you build it out, and what is the plan for the next season?
Yeah, so I mean, those are things that we're discussing right now. We just finished our season, so
Yeah,
we have time to sit back and sort of look at what we did this year, what fans really engaged with, what the data says as well. But how we move forward with this league is certainly at the core of our focus right now, and what the opportunities
yeah, yeah,
are given to your point. The technology that's out there to help fans have a richer or more personalized experience. Even there's a lot of technology that is on the horizon, and we sit in a very unique position of being a new league where we actually have the ability to probably embrace a lot of that
yeah, yeah. Take some
technology
chances.
quicker,
Yeah,
exactly, than a legacy brand or league who they've got a lot more that fans have become used to. They have a lot more history that
yeah, yeah.
it's
Or
not really hard,
don't
not
change.
really easy to change,
Yeah, yeah.
right? But we sit in a situation where we can embrace a lot of those things from
Take
the
some
very
risks, take
beginning.
some things. I mean, I remember when that camera, I don't know what it's called, but when they started having that track and field camera,
Yeah, the real
the
cam.
sprinting, that it changed it for everything. So,
Yeah,
like you see,
we're still using that's the real cam, and you're still using that now, and it just brings a whole different perspective for the fan. But now we did a lot this year using drone shots that actually follow the athletes around, so you feel like you're in the race, and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that was really something that our fans really got into. You know, drone shots over a football match or a football game, is one thing, but drone shots, actually following athletes as they're racing around the track is a very different type of experience, or a very cool experience that our fans, it just gave them a completely different perspective of
Yeah.
how the races actually unfold. So we'll do more of that sort of stuff.
So how can a brand, if a brand's listening or people representing the brands, I mean, obviously brands are involved, but how do they, beyond sponsorship, beyond you say you're talking about we're open to technology and can take some
Mm.
chances. You're probably open to unique partnership with brands
Of
beyond,
course.
hey, give us some sponsorship dollars. So what is the pitch, if you will?
Yeah, I think, it is that we have, this very, very compelling content that's highly engaging because of the structure of our sport. Because we can tell the story
Yeah.
and the highlight. We have multiples of those stories because we have so many different races and we have so many different athletes and a variety of different personalities. We also have a very interesting audience, and our audience is 49% women
Hmm.
for a sport, which is very unique. Part of that is due to the fact that our sport has always been gender equal with
Yeah.
equal pay.
Yeah.
This isn't something that, we've got to try to level up the women. Some of the biggest stars in our sport and in our league as well are
So it's
female
always been
athletes.
equal pay. That's it.
It's always been
Yeah.
equal pay in track. Yeah. So that's one of the unique things about this sport. And it's always been equal number of events, and they've always
Yeah.
been together, in
Yeah.
the same arena, same competition. So that's just natural for us.
Yeah.
It's always been that way for track. So I think that makes it very compelling. So it creates a situation where our fan base is equal 50-50 men and women. But also, like in the US, our fan base is 44% black, 12% Latino, 67% under the age of 35. So we have very compelling, our audience skews young and diverse.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Again, and the content is very,
Bite-sized and
yeah, exactly. And yeah, so I think those things, but then also the pitch is that yeah, we have the ability to be very, very nimble and creative in terms of how we actually partner with brands. I'm sure brands are looking at different ways that make sense for them. And it's not just, we don't have just sort of this, hey, here's the template and here's what you fit into.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's
We actually are able to be much more collaborative with brands in terms of how they're involved with our product.
I mean, that's what I tell anytime I'm talking with an athlete or a musician or people representing, "Oh, we've got a song. Do you wanna use it for the Super Bowl?" I'm like, "That's so old school mentality." We need you to give us something. Even we did something with Beyoncé for Verizon on the Super Bowl, and yes, she got paid a good amount of money, but she gave us the dropping of her country album
Yeah.
on it too.
Yeah.
And you can say, well, it was a big audience, but it's also she's attaching her music pivot to a brand like Verizon. The quality, the creative had to be good. So brands are looking, and the agencies like myself, like, well, it's got to be cool or special or interesting. Like anybody can give money, like, but like, how can a brand really be without ruining it either, too? So it's such
Yeah.
a fine line
Good point.
of playing with it. So that's where, if someone listen to this and once they're like, oh wow, we can maybe have a sit down and say, okay, what can we do that will
Yeah.
be special?
Yeah.
So what's the
Exactly.
best way for a consumer, a fan, to experience the league?
Yeah. So we were, one of the things I'm probably most proud of that we did in this first year was to get this product into 203 countries around the world. So the most widely distributed track product ever, and the most widely distributed emerging league of any of all of the new leagues of sports that are out there. So in the US, we're on the CW and simultaneously streaming on Peacock. Throughout Europe, we're on WBD, with Eurosport and TNT and a collection of their other brands through Asia. And so, but on our Grand Slam Track website, on our YouTube channel, you can see all of the content there.
Yeah.
You can see replays on Peacock if you have it. But yeah, our YouTube channel has all of our content there and allows you to really experience our social. Our Instagram is pretty engaging. Our content is extremely engaging. So for example, our last event in Philadelphia, in the week following it, had over 100 million views.
Wow.
I think our team has done an amazing job in building the brand so people recognize it in a very, very short time. And it's an engaging brand that people recognize and start to go, okay, I know. One of the things was, being able to take the sport and take the absolute best athletes and put them in an exclusive home just for them. That's been one of the biggest problems for the sport and for the athletes in the sport. So you'll hear some athletes complaining that, they're the best in the world, but nobody knows them, or they're not getting the brand and engagement and deals that they want. They're not getting the sort of attention that they want. A lot of that has to do with the fact that, if you don't have a league or a platform that is constantly putting you out there for you to actually prove to the world that you're the best, then no one's going to know you're the best. And just you saying it because you did something 2 years ago at the Olympics and you won, which was amazing, that was 2 years ago. And, it just doesn't work that
The
way.
exact same conversations we have with brands that maybe do something bold once and then big hit, then it goes away. We got to keep
You got to keep doing it. Yeah.
feeding the
And these
cullet.
athletes and it's not a situation where it's like, oh, I did something once and now I have to figure out how to do it again. They can continue to do it. They are the best. You just have to have a platform where you're able to show people that you're the best. That's been their issue. It's not having the platform.
Now they have it.
So now they have it.
I mean, it's a killer name. I'm a naming crazy person, so I love the name, and it's sticky. These things have to stick. They're simple.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, we're almost at the end. We do this fun thing called the rapid fire. Of course, if we don't do rapid fire with the fastest man on earth, then we're idiots. Last song you listened to?
That's a hard one because I'm always listening to new songs, and I just found this new song the other day. And it's like this group Green something. I can't.
It can't be Green Day.
No, it's like it's like some alternative
Yeah.
new group, but it was really cool and I loved it. And
You're flexing. I like you showing you're into the deep cuts that no one knows.
Yeah,
Right?
right?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
feel you.
yeah.
I got you. What's your secret hidden talent?
A secret hidden talent. I don't have a lot of secrets. But what a lot of people don't know is that I'm pretty good at DIY. That's my sort of getaway.
Interesting.
Just, tinkering on things. I'll fix that, instead of calling, my wife always wants to call someone.
My wife is I'm the
Like, I need to call someone. I was like, oh, no, I don't need to call anybody. I'll fix that.
a brand you can't live without.
Ooh, God, this is going to sound terrible. Apple.
common answer, so it's not terrible.
Yeah, yeah, that's why it's terrible. It's
But it,
common. Like
but it's the power of branding. It's the power of being a deep part of people's lives.
they kind of make the whole all of the products work really well together. Kind of don't let anybody else come in. That's
Yeah,
so you kind of stuck,
system,
you
it's a
know.
closed system, but
Really,
and the marketing. Tor Myron is my friend. He's one of the best
that's I mean it is
creative.
great.
So is a reason why they've got you. Your go-to karaoke song,
Oh,
if you have to.
I don't have one. I don't have one.
All right,
Yeah,
you can pass. You're Michael
yeah.
Johnson. You can do whatever you
I'll
want.
pass. I feel like I should have one though. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This is my favorite question, and Jonathan and his partner Alex writes all these questions. Best compliment you've ever received?
Oh my goodness. One of the best compliments I ever received was, um, so like when you're, it's not gonna be rapid, but I'll
Right.
tell the story real quick. So when in track, before you go out onto the track for Olympic final, let's say, all 8 of the athletes are put in this very tiny room called the call room. They call you into this room, and that's where you sit, and it's kind of you holding there
Like a green
before
room.
your. It's not a green room. It's just this is the holding room for you before the athletes go onto the
For
track.
how long are you in there?
You're probably in there 10 minutes. You know,
That's got to be.
and yeah, exactly. It's tense. It's the Olympic final. All these 8 athletes, all rivals. Everybody wants to win. Only one person can win. So, 2 guys that I competed against for years, and they were the Olympic silver and bronze medalists in 1996 behind me when I won the gold. Yeah. Frankie Fredericks from Namibia was the silver medalist. Otto Bolden from Trinidad was the bronze medalist. And so we were not friends by any stretch back then. We all are now, but we were not friends then. We hated each other.
Yeah, I bet.
Not, it wasn't like
I wish I'd even
Otto
there was a
Bolden
camera in there.
are like we hated each other.
Yeah.
It's crazy that we actually are friends now. But anyway, so I was doing an interview years later with those 2 guys, the 3 of us, and
Still kind of angry, or still?
no, at this point we're all kind of cordial, right? And so in that moment when you're in that room, it's very tense, and everybody's just kind of like looking at each other or kind of not trying to look at each other, and so it's very tense. And so the mental part of sport is very important, especially when you're going out to run an Olympic final. So races can be won and lost in that moment. So there's always some guy who's trying to take people out of their game. So
Yeah.
Otto was that guy. He'd be walking around, with his shirt off, just woo, doing all this stuff, like I'm ready, like trying to signal to everybody else, and trying to psych people out, and that happened a lot in there. So when we're doing this interview years later, of course I won.
Yeah.
Frankie was silver, Otto was bronze. We were the 3 medalists, and we were doing this interview, and they said, what, one thing that we didn't like about you was like when we were in the call room and everybody was trying to affect everybody else. It was like we would look at you, and it was like we weren't even there. It was like you didn't share anything about us. Like we didn't even exist. Like you were just
That was your.
like you were just gonna go do what you did regardless of what we did. And I was like, that's probably the biggest compliment I've ever had. And they both looked at me and they went, we know it. We hated to give it to you, but we've been talking about this for years. And
Hey, first of all, there should be a show called The Call Room. It's got to be part of. It should
there's
be
some
part of.
things that have happened in there, and some races have been lost in there where people who were as a commentator, I've seen athletes who I would not a gambler, but I would have put money on them to win.
That's like.
But I know what happens, and I know that, when they come out and you can see that I'm looking at them and I can see like they don't look as confident as I thought they would be. Something happened in that call room. When you go into that call room and you're in that close proximity with your competitors, mental, not toughness, just too much talk about mental toughness, but your ability to
Zone it out.
understand how you get the best out of yourself in that moment and not be overwhelmed and affected by the moment. That's critical.
But I'm saying, like, imagine if there was a camera in that room at that moment. How incredible that is! It part of
Now it is.
Grand Slam track? No, is it part of your?
It is now, but now athletes know that the cameras are there.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's
a little bit.
so it's a little
Yeah, I
different.
love it.
Yeah.
So, okay. What a great answer. If you could hang out with one fictional character, who would it be? From a movie or from a fictional?
Fictional character.
It could be James Bond. People have said, something like that.
Nah, be the Flash.
I mean, do you have the answer? The Flash, of course. Yeah. I mean, But right on brief. So, okay, and this you don't have to have three. If you just have one, it's three items on your bucket list. But if it's just one, it's a lot that you haven't done. You want to do before you leave
You know
this
what?
earth.
It's gonna sound pretty boring because I've traveled the world, but
Yeah.
I've never been to Alaska.
Mm.
Do want to go to Alaska once. I want to go fishing in Alaska.
We shot a commercial. I didn't get to go there, so I've seen a lot of footage of it. But I hate the cold, but I would go to that. I think it's
Yeah,
interesting. It
I have
still
a
feels like an
few, but
untouched
that's
earth.
fun. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, I've been able to. I've had a big bucket list, and I've been really fortunate to be able to hit a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, if you weren't doing this career, and you said you were a DIY guy, you had lots of businesses, but this question is kind of not fair because you've got multiple careers that you've actually done. Is there something you wish you would have done or could have done, maybe that's different than any of the things you've done that you're envious of, or like, man, that would have been fun to be an actor?
No, for me, yeah, it's easy. It's being a Formula One driver. If I could have been a Formula One driver, that would have been amazing. I love race.
Love speed. Clearly, you love
Yeah,
speed.
yeah. I got into Formula One way back in the '90s, and I've always loved, you know, racing and
Yeah.
yeah.
It's interesting though, like your Grand Slam track F1 is becoming a big thing. Like, I don't know, the speed might be just it'd be cool to connect some of these brands that are out there too, because
Yeah, Formula One's done a great job.
yeah, man.
They
They
always have in
yeah.
their association with brands way back since the '90s.
Last question. One piece of advice for your teenage self.
Um, you know, I don't. I think if you, I think about, I would my advice to someone else
Yeah.
would be, to just, it would be dependent on who they are and what they're experiencing. And like for me, I had a really good childhood, and I didn't do everything right. I didn't know that I was going to be in this situation, so I didn't have this confidence, and I think that was good for me. I didn't have a tremendous amount of confidence when I was a teenager. I really didn't. I probably didn't have much confidence, to be honest. But I think that was a good part of the journey for me, as opposed to, if someone could have come along and told me as a teenager, hey, you know what, have more confidence because you're going to do all of these amazing things.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
I don't think I would have had the same journey, and it wouldn't have been
Yeah, maybe.
the same result.
Yeah.
So,
Great. It's a good way, take it as it comes, like
Mm.
so this has been amazing. A real honor for me as a crazy sports fan. I'm psyched for your new league that's going to season 2, and hopefully the listeners out there want to watch and be part of it, and brands want to be part of it. But this has been awesome. Enjoy Cannes. Go see some of the work. That's
yeah,
you'd be kind
yeah,
of psyched.
will.
It's amazing. There's
Will.
this thing called the Athlete's Code that's done with Powerade,
Hmm.
where it's giving pause for in your contracts. So Powerade writes in the contract now that if you need a mental break,
Hmm.
you can take it without anything against your payment. You're
Yeah,
can
yeah,
be paid. It's
yeah.
called the Athlete's Code. It's big winner here, but it's one in the world and great for athletes. And mental health is a really serious thing. And
Yeah.
so we'll send you that one. That's a good one.
Good.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Married to the game, I'm super loyal, holding matrimony.
Screaming Creativity is directed by Jonathan Sanchez, produced by Alex Davis Isaac and Adrian Chan, edited by Ogilvy, designed by Dave Towers and Martina Stisi, and music by Tax Free Nevada and Cleveland Thrasher.